G'day guys, we have another clear night tonight, so of course I'm going to be out shooting some astro. Now, I was contemplating driving out underneath some dark skies, however the forecast is that the wind's going to really pick up later on, and with the RASs, anything over about 25k winds, it's going to blow it around a bit. So I figured I'd set up in the backyard again. At least I've got some protection just in case it does get a bit windy later on. It is forecast for gusts over 30 k's. We'll see what happens. So tonight I've decided to go back to that Lagoon Mosaic that I took last time. And if you haven't seen that video, I'll be sure to create a link for it at the end of this video for you guys to see, or in the descriptions below. Now, I was absolutely over the moon with how that photo turned out. A 4-panel mosaic. Mind you, the data I captured, it wasn't a lot of data. I believe it was about 45 RGB lights and 15 HA lights. But that combination of RGB and HA is going really well together, and I'm learning a little bit more on how to process those images to overlay that HA to the RGB and have it complement the image, not go too harsh on the image, because I can actually crank up that HA a lot and it really overwhelms the photograph. I just want to complement it and add just a little bit of extra detail, because I always believe a little bit less is a little bit more. So tonight we're going to completely forget about that little bit less is a little bit more, and go for more data and see just how much more information and more detail we can get, especially with that RGB data shooting underneath light pollution skies, about a Bortle 5 to 6. Now, the other thing I want to do is, I realized last video in my RGB data I shot at a gain of 64, and the reason it was a gain of 64 is because I last used my Nikon Z7 to do some astro, and that was at its lowest ISO there at one stage of 64. So I think that kind of carried through. I'm not sure, but I'm still pretty amazed. So I'm going to leave it at a gain of 64. But we're going to hopefully shoot a lot more light frames, and I'm going to add that to the data I've already captured. So tonight is more of a, yes, adding more data to a photo I've already taken, but it's also going back and loading up that planned mosaic and shooting those 4 panels again, and then using the old data that I shot from that old mosaic plan and see how well it all goes together. Because I finally worked out the mount issues with Nina, and now if this whole mosaic thing works really well, I know that this is the system I'm going to be using for plenty of mosaics in the future. And I do have an absolutely massive mosaic of about 150 panels that I'd like to get started on sometime by the end of this year. But we want to make sure everything's working exactly how I want it to go, so that way my future astrophotography with the twins and this whole setup is going to be it. Yeah, rambling on a bit. So let's just wait for it to get a little bit darker so we can set up and start shooting some astro. Okay guys, so we're just about ready to start our imaging session, but I want to walk through a little bit about Nina and how I've got things set up here. So the first thing we're going to do is connect up to our camera, which we can see up the top here, and we've got it on a -10 degrees cooling. Now, the focus motor is something I really want to talk about here, because this is one of the issues I had with dual imaging, and that was that because I've got two ZWO focus motors, sometimes one focus motor was controlling the other. How I fixed that was, as we can see here, so this is RASA 1 with the mono camera, and I've got ZWO Focuser 2. Okay, so RASA 1 Focuser 2. I know what's going on. But in order to get them to control the right RASA properly through Nina, you got these little cog buttons up the top here, which are your settings. And as we can see, that my port that's open is ID 0. So ID 0 is going to be controlling my RASA 1. And then if we quickly go across to our other sequence, and we click on the cogs here, we can see that ID 1 is controlling the second RASA focus motor. So we are our focus motors and everything are all connected. Now our telescope, which is the mount, is connected through the device hub telescope section in Nina. Now what that does is that connects through to the ASCOM settings, and the ASCOM settings are pointing towards CPWI. So that is how I've been able to get this whole system to work without any dropouts anymore. Fingers crossed. We do know that sometimes we can curse ourselves with Astro, and I may have just done that, but we'll see. And I can also see my laptop's getting a bit flat, so I need to go charge that in a minute. And our guide is all ready to go. Now, on the imaging side of things, or the sequence aspect, I've got my 4 panels here loaded up, and I'm going to be shooting 20 frames in HA at 125 seconds. Now, the reason I'm shooting at 125 seconds is because when we look at our RGB sequence, which is right here, I'm shooting at 30 seconds. Now, 30 seconds, you'd think I'll be getting 4 RGB images to 1 HA, but because they're synchronized in dithering, when I get to that third, or go to shoot that 4th 30-second exposure, it looks at the RASA 1 and goes, well, there's not enough time left. All right, even though there's still 30 seconds left, it's not enough time left. So what I'm doing in this run here is I'm just increasing the single exposures by an extra 5 seconds. Hopefully that will allow my RGB to shoot those 4 30-second frames, rather than wait for like 30 odd plus seconds for the HA to finish that. I hope you guys are with me there. There's a little bit of a little bit going on right there, but this is one of the things I'm learning about dual imaging with synchronization and Nina. So we're shooting at 120 gain for my HA, and on my RGB we're going to go for another gain of 64. Now also, the reason I want to shoot lower gains in RGB is because I want to try and maintain star color and not overexpose the stars as quickly and easily as I would if I was shooting at 120 gain. I know a lot of people with the 294 cameras go, well, why don't you just use Unity gain? Well, when you're shooting at f2, because you're shooting so fast and you're capturing so much light, the moment you push up your Unity gain, it's like pushing up your ISO on your cameras, all right? So we're going to be then overdoing or overexposing those stars, and we're not going to be able to maintain those colors. But you could say, hey, why don't you just use shorter exposures? I could, but then we're going to be shooting even more exposures to stack, and then that just comes down to computing power. I mean, do I really want to be stacking 2000 light frames at 15-second exposures or something like that, where I can get away with slightly longer exposures, lower gain, and slightly lower lights as well, so that way I'm not stacking heaps. I'm sure that will come later on in the future, but at this stage, not quite now. So it seems that my laptop has just died. So I'm going to go into my room. I'm going to plug the laptop back in. We'll get this up and running and start imaging. So tonight's imaging session went quite well, apart from the beginning. If you may have noticed, it went into a meridian flip the moment it slewed across and started the plate solve. So once it finished its meridian flip, we got underway, and the issue I had then was some guiding. I wasn't too sure if it was because it was too close to the meridian after its flip, that I had a couple of little guiding issues. So I ended up changing a few settings in PhD, and everything was fine after that. So it may have just been just a couple of tweaks with the settings. So I don't really know how many good frames I got of the first panel, and I was going to reshoot the first panel again, but the wind is starting to pick up now, and I know it's probably going to get worse later on, and really I'm not going to add to that first panel as many decent light frames as I'd like. But anyway, the rest of the session went really smooth, really well. So I'm excited to see just the difference between adding more data to the data I've already accumulated, just to see the difference. And I'm pretty excited. Fingers crossed it all goes well. All right, well, as you can see, I'm going to start packing up and call it a night. So if you've enjoyed this video, please give me a big thumbs up. If you got any questions, leave a comment. And if this is the first video you've seen of mine, please check out some of my other videos. And I'll leave a link to the last Lagoon and Trifid Nebula Mosaic that I'd shot as well. Alright guys, so until next time, take it easy. See you.